Okay, welcome back. This is the fourth Film Smart podcast. I think we're gonna talk about movies. I guess the PC discussion. We're gonna have our PC discussion part two. We're gonna have about this. You can put that into the social and political area, and then we might talk about some politics and music later on. But first, I wanted to talk about the fact that Phil Lord and Chris Miller left the Han Solo movie, or were fired by Kathleen Kennedy, and they are now being replaced by Ron Howard. And there was a report coming out today. I can't remember what the site was. I want to say Hollywood Reporter, but I'm not sure. But I heard that the lead actor Alden Ehrenreich had spoken to Kathleen and/or Lawrence Kasdan and said that Phil Lord and Chris Miller, the way that they were directing it was not didn't feel right and wasn't conducive to the actual character of Han Solo. And I heard people saying things like it was like that Jim Carrey movie where he plays the animal detective, Ace Ventura. So,
yikes.
And so that doesn't really fit the character of Han Solo. It was getting a little too jokey. And that's, it was strange to hear that because those guys are really, I love the Lego movie. I thought they did a good job with both of the 21 and 22 Jump Street movies. They've done the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball movies, which I'm not as hot on, but and then they were in the talks to do The Flash, and now people are saying that they might return to go do The Flash. Because it was initially they were in like 2 or 3 years ago, if you remember, they were rumored to be directing that. And then it became Seth Grahame-Smith, and everybody's like, who is that? And then he left, and then Rick Famuyiwa, from the director of Dope, came in, and that's when Kiersey Clemons came in to play Iris, and then he left, and now since Halloween we haven't had a Flash director. So that was a long time ago. Halloween. It's we're late June now at this point. So now there are rumors that they might be returning back to do the Flash movie, but
I want that.
Yeah. But now
I really couldn't care less about that Han Solo movie. So,
well, see, I think that's how the vast majority of people were. Even the biggest Star Wars fans I've watched, and they'll be like, did we? People were like, we love Han Solo, but I don't need to see his past, But the thing that turned it around for me was seeing some of the cast with Donald Glover as Lando, which I thought was really good casting, and then seeing Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones, Tandy Newton from Westworld. I thought that, and then the directors I thought were good additions. And so now that we don't have those directors and we're just getting Ron Howard, who is a good director, no doubt, but I don't know, I'm worried that this movie is either going, with them, it would have had too much, I don't know what the word is, but it would have been too much to handle. Like it sounded like it had a little too much going on. But now with Ron Howard, I'm worried it's just going to be like, well, what's the point of making this movie? He sort of came in like the soldier. Like, I can come in, I can direct this movie, I can do what Disney wants me to do. And then, the movie gets a 73 on Rotten Tomatoes, which is fine. But just the idea of, I'm just worried that I'm going to walk into this movie and walk out sort of blah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Their forced removal, and
Well, I don't think I'd care about this movie no matter what director was on. Like,
yeah,
I'd never liked Han Solo in any of the other movies. For some reason, he just never interested me in any way.
Oh, so, you don't like Han Solo?
No, he was always boring.
Oh, wow.
I don't know, that type of character just I was never interested.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when I heard that there was a movie, I was like, well, why?
Yeah, see, I love Han Solo, but I like Indiana Jones more for going between the iconic Harrison Ford characters. But when I heard about this movie, I was like, yeah, nobody asked for this. Then I
thought, yeah, but all the people to make movies are like all the material to pull from Han Solo. But I understand that he's really marketable. But like,
Well, yeah, of course, but
this story, like, I'm like, there's so many good stories to be told. I don't know.
and the one actor that I don't know is the guy playing Han Solo. Like I've seen, these other people like Donald Glover. I love him on Atlanta and Community, and obviously he's going to be in Spider Man, and he's doing music, and he has a huge career. But then Emilia Clarke, I watch her on Game of Thrones, and Tandy Newton I see on Westworld. So I'm familiar with, I've watched many episodes of these people, which is interesting. Most of the cast are known for TV or less movies. But Alden Ehrenreich, I think he was in that Hail Caesar last year, or he was in Hail Caesar last year, and I heard he was good in it, but he didn't have like a huge role, and the movie itself got lukewarm reviews. And other than that, I don't know what else he was in. So the guy that I'm the least sure about is the guy playing the titular character. That's sort of strange. But I don't know. What does this give you hope for the Flash movie, or does it worry you that they may make some of the same mistakes there if they go to it?
I trust them. Yeah, I think ever since the Lego movie, I just trusted them. And I think for something like the Flash and the potential of what the Flash has to grow into with Green Lantern, I think they're actually really, really well equipped for that type of relationship. Like if they have Green Lantern and Flash ever come together, which would be such a good idea. Oh my gosh.
Well, remember that rumor when that DC slate came out in with Nikki Fink? I remember that was like her big comeback or whatever.
Comeback, yeah, I remember. Oh God, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was like exactly 3 years ago. But because I remember we did a report on it on Film Smart, and I was like, who is Nikki Fink? But
exactly, and I'm still saying that.
Yeah, they're talking about like that was her comeback, and I was like, comeback from where? I didn't know.
Nobody knows who she is.
And then afterwards, nothing's happened. So I don't.
Exactly. Wait, so was it all? I don't even remember. Is it all false?
No, I mean some of it was true. I think she said, but it was like, of course, like I think there probably was like Wonder Woman's going to be a movie. Oh, really? Who would have thought that? And then it was like, but then the reason I brought her up is because you talked about Green Lantern and Flash. And her rumor was that it wasn't going to be a Flash movie, but a Green Lantern and Flash movie. And so, and that's not, I mean, maybe that's going to happen still. At this point, it could become true just for the fact that the Flash movie's been in so much trouble. I mean, that movie, between that and the Batman, more turmoil than I've ever seen. I mean, I've never seen so many directors, including Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who didn't sign on, but who were in talks. I've never seen so many directors just leave a movie.
I don't know.
I mean, it's bizarre. We're talking about 4 different guys, and I know Phil Lord and Chris Miller like come in a package together, but still 4 different people. When I went through those directors, leaving a project or deciding not to even sign on. So much turmoil. So I could. What did you say?
Sounds dead on arrival.
Oh yeah. So I could see them like rewriting the story and saying, you know what, maybe let's put Green Lantern in this because he's going to have maybe some cameo in Justice League at the end and help save the day with them or something. I don't know. And then so let's expand on that and do a team up like Batman versus Superman, except they're friends, I guess. Or maybe they want to do Flash versus Green Lantern. Who knows?
Flash. Ugh. That'd be so boring, just like Batman versus Superman was.
Yes.
But
so many people, I mean, so many people hate it, but the people who like it really like it. I've noticed.
I don't know why.
I don't get it, but I think it's partially lying to yourself. But
yeah, if they had a Flash and Green Lantern, they have to be friends. There's no like room for animosity.
Yeah, I don't really see them like, oh, I don't trust you, Green Lantern.
And neither of them really seem like people that would turn on like the other people in the Justice League. They would just quit being in the Justice League or something. They would just like they don't seem like they would hold beef. They would just separate themselves.
Yeah, I mean they're lighter characters.
Like Green Lantern. If he hated Superman, he'd probably just go stay on Oa.
Yeah, Green Lantern is like a god in his own right.
Yeah, so, and he doesn't. He protects more than Earth. Like
we're just a sector.
I was like, I was like, he's beyond Earth too. It's like he doesn't have to stay here.
Yeah. So as as powerful as Superman is, he's not going to leave Earth really, unless he has to go fight somebody. But Green Lantern is like, we're just a part of his sector. So we're his home planet, but
I really want Green Lantern to come already.
Well, the reason I'm doubting that he's going to be in the Flash for, or at least be half of the Flash movie is because, they were talking about that Green Lantern core movie, which would have him and John Stewart, and then they said possibly Kyle Rayner, Guy Gardner, or somebody.
I wonder where that would take place.
Yeah, well, I know, because that's what I was wondering. Is it going to take? I think they said there was people were speculating there was a possibility that maybe the movies would follow one or two Green Lanterns, and then the Justice League movies would follow a different Green Lantern, or that they'd switch it out sometimes.
Well,
like Justice League 1 would have Jordan, and then Justice League 2 might have John Stewart, and Justice League 3 might have Kyle Rayner.
If they can, okay, so I think that could actually work if they don't just randomly plop one in.
Yes.
So like if they very much build characters, as in like they go, hey, look, John Stewart exists, Guy Gardner exists, and somebody else exists, and in the Green Lantern movie, and then when Hal Jordan, they should just have one be the main one at first, and then there needs to be some reason why they switch places, like Hal Jordan gets moved to another sector because he does something wrong on Earth, or I don't know, he's dealing with the Star Sapphires in some other galaxy.
Yeah,
like something, and then John Stewart fills in.
Yeah,
and when we love him in Justice League 2 or something. Oh, look, John Stewart's the next Green Lantern in the actual movie too, and Guy Gardner's still there too. And then if there's, I think there can be organic shifting of the Green Lanterns as long as they allow that to be natural.
Yeah,
I don't want them to just be like, okay, well, John Stewart's in now because he's black.
Well, because they were saying that maybe he would be the Justice League version.
Like, do you think that they're gonna have just leave one in the Justice League and then? There could be 2 per sect. No, they wouldn't. I don't think they'd waste.
Well, I think what they might do is have one of the Green Lanterns will cameo in Justice League, either in an end credit or something. I would prefer them not do it in end credits so that you actually could set it up, but because you can't rely on people staying for 13 minutes. But anyway, they have him come in towards the end. He helps. Although they're going to want to do some big thing about Superman. I don't know when Superman's going to come in. Maybe he'll come in the middle, and then at the end, Green Lantern will come in, and then you have Hal Jordan or John Stewart. I don't really care. And then you do a core movie. You spin that off into a core movie. So you have John Stewart, Hal, Kyle, or Guy, or all 4. It doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe a non-human one. I can't remember some of the non-human ones, but maybe one of them.
I can't remember
Yeah, I can't remember their names, but so then do that. And then for the Justice League 2, just have some naturally at the end of Green Lantern Corps, have one of them, John Stewart or Kyle or Hal, say, I have to go back to Earth. There's some danger or whatever for it. And maybe in just one or 2 of them, maybe, but 1 or 2 of them go back to Earth. And so it's natural. So by the time that they're on with the Justice League, it's not weird that that one of them, maybe that because Hal was in the first one, it's not weird that John is in the second one.
Mm-hmm.
It would make sense. But it also would, if you do that, you're counting on, you have to do some exposition at the beginning to explain why he's there still, because you can't count on people having seen the Green Lantern movie. So when you make a big franchise like this, like the MCU or the DCU, you can't count on people having seen your last movie. You have to make a coherent one movie. You can't hope that everybody saw the last thing, because you're just setting yourself up for failure. And that's actually the thing I forgot to mention. And this is a problem I had with Amy Pascal's comments, because I don't know if you saw that interview with her and Kevin Feige, but they were talking about Sony wanted to do their own Spider-Verse universe that would have Venom and Black Cat and Silver Sable, and now they're talking about Mysterio and Kraven the Hunter, and that they were going to have their own Spider-Man universe with different of his famous villains and anti-heroes of the Spider-Man universe, and it wasn't going to be connected to the MCU, which I thought was the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because if you're going to have all these Spider-Man characters and not have Spider-Man, what's the point of this? And
so it's going to cause so much brand confusion.
Yeah, and so it was so stupid. People are like, oh, Carnage could be the villain in Venom, and so you could make Venom the hero and Carnage the villain, because that's traditionally Venom. Even though Venom's a villain, Venom is often, when Carnage comes into the picture, he becomes the hero. And there's like Agent Venom and whatever. And so he's sort of in the middle.
Nobody cares about Venom that much.
Yeah, and I also said, you're right. And I also said, that sounds cool, but what's the point of this if it's not connected to Spider-Man? The only reason these characters exist is because Spider-Man exists. Their relevance comes from him. I mean, it's really it's like as dumb as making a Catwoman movie and having no reference to Batman, like that Halle Berry garbage. They didn't even call her Selena Kyle.
Yeah, Patience Phillips. Yeah,
yeah, something stupid. So that's really the equivalent of why would you? So now you're saying we're going to take all these big famous Spider-Man characters. Part of the thing I got excited about the Spider-Man deal with Marvel is that all these characters, all these villains, would have a part in the MCU now, because the MCU has really been focusing on its heroes rather than its villains. But I thought with Spider-Man, since you have such great villains like the Green Goblin and Mysterio and Kraven the Hunter and Venom, that you could and Carnage, that you could focus on some of the villains now a little bit more and give them some more gravitas that they haven't, that villains like Ultron and Baron Zemo and whoever didn't get in the past, possibly. Malekith, remember Malekith in Thor the Dark World? What a terrible villain.
Barely, yeah. I barely remember him. Don't even remember what he wanted.
Yeah, I think he wanted to destroy the universe because that helps him, even though it kills everything. But anyway,
that's what. Yeah, that's
the dumbest plan ever. Why would you want to do that? Yeah, it's just so stupid. I hated that plan. I don't hate that movie, but I hate that plan. But anyway, I mean, at some point you have to say, really, is this what I want? I want to destroy everything. But anyway,
like that's.
I'm going to make the universe dark. What?
What is that? Who does that help? Who does you?
That doesn't help anybody. Are you that depressed? I mean, wow.
Yes, like even if you do succeed, you won't have anybody to like do your busy. Like you won't have anything. You won't have any people to rule.
Yeah, it's over. You're gone. So yeah. So really, it was just like, I guess he was just suicidal, and also extremely genocidal. But anyway, so yeah, that was my whole problem with the Sonyverse doing all those Spider-Man characters. I thought it was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And so I thought that now when this, I don't know if you saw the interview, but Amy Pascal was sitting next to Kevin Feige and they were talking because Spider-Man Homecoming's coming out very soon. And so they're having an interview or whatever. And she starts talking about Venom. And she says, well, yeah, this Venom and Black Cat and Silver Sable, they're going to be adjuncts to the Spider-Man world. They're going to be a part of it. They're in a different place or whatever, but they're still going to be part of it. And so basically, if they're part of the Spider-Man world, that must mean they're part of the MCU world, because they keep talking about the Spider-Man world. I remember when the press release came out that Spider-Man was joining the MCU, and it said the Marvel joins the world of Spider-Man, or the Marvel Cinematic Universe joins the world of Spider-Man, or whatever. I remember thinking, no, I'm sorry, Spider-Man is joining the MCU. This is not Spider-Man's one character. This is not how that works. You guys made a terrible last movie, and now you're joining the MCU. It's not. They're not joining you. It's one character. So I thought that was. They keep saying stuff like that. I think it's very weird. But anyway, so now she's saying that Venom and Black Cat, Silver Sable, and I guess Kraven the Hunter, Mysterio are adjuncts, which leads me to two things. Adjuncts means like it's an extension of the universe, but it's not as imperative or important to the overall universe. So that would be like the Netflix shows, Daredevil and Luke Cage, and Jessica Jones and Iron Fist and Punisher and Elektra, all that. All those shows are part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They exist in the world of the Avengers, but they don't have really any effect on the events of the greater MCU. So what happens in Daredevil is not going to affect an Iron Man movie or the Avengers. Mm-hmm. But some of the stuff that happens in the Avengers might affect Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Daredevil. Like they'll mention things like the incident or whatever. They always call it the incident. And so they'll do things.
So corny.
I mean, I guess it makes sense. It only has bothered me because it makes sense if you lived in New York and then these aliens came in and they call it the incident or whatever. I just think it's weird that they call like the Hulk the green guy or the Captain America the spangly guy. And I don't know why they don't just they'll call Iron Man Stark, but that's it because he was already famous, I guess. But everybody else, they kind of give them these nicknames. I don't know why they don't just call them by their name. But
yeah, they've been addressed as all of those things. But yeah.
And then they do like they always call it the incident, but they don't refer to anything else. Like Luke Cage takes place in Harlem. Well, in The Incredible Hulk and Abomination had a big fight in Harlem. They never mention it. There was like a newspaper clipping of it in the first season of Daredevil, but they never actually talked about it on Luke Cage, which takes place in Harlem. And then they never mentioned anything that happened in Sokovia with Ultron. They never mentioned the Sokovia Accords of Civil War that would affect all of the Netflix heroes. Because, I mean, they're superpowered, so they'd have to sign up for something. They never mention any of that. So it's just weird that Avengers came out 5 years ago. Can you guys update some of the stuff that you mentioned? I just think it's weird that if Infinity War comes out and they still don't mention anything, I'm going to really be pissed off. Because I'm sorry, Infinity War is with the alien invasion and Thanos. How could you, and it's supposed to involve the whole MCU, how are you not going to be able to address that? They keep talking about the incident, and they're talking about, Avengers 2012. That's really going to piss me off. But, whatever. So when I hear this adjunct thing from Amy Pascal, that makes me think, so the Venom and these movies will exist in the universe, but they don't have a huge effect. That makes sense. However, she's saying Spider-Man is going to be in the MCU and these movies. They're saying that's what's likely to happen is that he'll be in both. Tom Holland Spider-Man, not some recasted Spider-Man or whatever. That he'll be in both of these universes, if you will, which makes me think two things. Either is it going to be one universe, or is it going to be Doctor Strange opens up a portal? Because, now with Doctor Strange, we know there's multiple universes. Is he going to go into a second universe, and then that's going to be the Spider-Man world? I don't think that's what's going to happen, but that was a thought that I had. I just thought I'd throw it out there because the Flash does it all the time, and multiple universes is a huge part of DC Comics and their identity in the last 35 years or so. With like Crisis on Infinite Earths and things like that. So I thought that that sort of reminded me of stuff that they do on the Flash now. But we'll see what happens with this. And do you know who's playing Venom, Josh? Did you hear about that?
No.
Tom Hardy is playing Venom. So people were not excited about the movie, but once they heard that, they were like, okay, I don't get why this is its own thing, but I mean, Tom Hardy can act. So at least we have that. So that's the one part that I'm happy about is that you got a class act actor with Tom Hardy. I mean, he's few better actors than him, but working today. I guess our next topic and we had this topic, I think, on our second podcast a few weeks, maybe a month ago at this point, but it's about PC culture and what it means. And we just had an honest discussion. We weren't necessarily criticizing it, right, or going, we were just having an honest discussion. Yeah. But after our last podcast, we got into more of a discussion, afterwards. And there was definitely some criticism of the culture and specifically how it relates to Twitter and hashtags and going after celebrities and things. And so I just wanted to hear what you had to say and what your thoughts on this. I think at the time we were referring to Katy Perry, people going after her.
Her character assassination, which worked.
Yeah, because yesterday I watched, I don't even know why I watched it, but for some reason it was this 55-minute video with her and Neil deGrasse Tyson talking.
Oh, that whole thing. Yeah, her whole live stream generated 49 million views.
Yeah. See, I didn't even watch the live stream, but I watched that because I was like, oh, I like Neil deGrasse Tyson a lot. So I was like, that's an interesting pairing. Why is he talking to her? And so I listened to that, and all the comments were talking about how dumb she is and how stupid she was. And and I felt bad for it. And while, I mean, she did ask some strange questions, because at one point she asked, like, does math have anything to do with science? And then when I read,
a very strange woman, yeah.
And when I heard that, I was like, okay, that's definitely a question that like a fifth grader would ask. But a lot of the other ones, I mean, anybody who knows what science is knows, of course, it has.
Yeah.
Neil deGrasse Tyson was very nice and patient with her, and he said, like, math is to science what going to China is learning Chinese is to going to China. Like that's the language of science is math.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought he was very eloquent with the way he said it. But she would ask a few other questions, and there were a couple ones that made me like raise my eyebrows a little bit. But then they weren't all dumb, and she was honestly wanted to know some of this stuff, and she was curious, and so when I read some of the comments, regardless of how dumb you thought her questions are or whatever, I thought a lot of those comments were quite mean and hurtful for somebody who's just wanted to learn something. So I know that kind of caught me off guard, and I mean, there were so many comments.
Yeah, under literally every video she's in, people just hate her.
So that's under a lot of videos, I guess, then. But yeah, they were really going after her on this one. I mean, it doesn't even matter what it's about.
Yeah. It could literally be her like saying that her dog is sick, and people would be like, I hope you die of cancer.
Yeah.
I'm like, when did it get that serious?
Yeah.
So there's a few things that I just that like, first of all, that I realized about trying to tear celebrities apart on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, celebrities are like humans.
Yes.
They're okay. So people say, why can't these celebrities just shut up and stop preaching to us? Well, first of all, they're not preaching to you. What they say just happens to be broadcasted everywhere. They aren't telling you have to believe anything they say, and you certainly don't have to view them as a celebrity or anybody important. You choose very much how you perceive anybody in this world. If you're brainwashed by celebrities, you're the idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is at liberty to think for themselves. Now, these people, yes, people care because they're public figures, and that a lot of people buy their music or a lot of people watch their movies. That doesn't mean you have to believe what they believe in.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. So people will be like, well, why does she feel the need to have an opinion? Because she's a human being just like you and me. She can have an opinion. Anybody can have an opinion. It doesn't matter. I don't care what her opinion is. It won't change mine.
Yes, what I hate when celebrities talk about politics. Like I remember when Leonardo DiCaprio, when he won his first Oscar for The Revenant, I think it was the beginning of last year, and he said he was talking about climate change because he had to deal with climate change. They had to like move locations for shooting because it was supposed to take place in the 1820s cold wilderness of I don't know, Canada maybe, or I don't remember, the Northwest maybe, and they had to move locations because a lot of the snow was melting, and it was like when it should have not been melting, and so he started talking about he was directly affected by climate change, and I remember one of my friends was like, why do celebrities have to talk about these issues that what? And I remember thinking like, and I said this to him, I was like, he's a human, he's a citizen just like us. He has the right to speak about any issue he wants to speak on because he's a citizen. And I commend him for using his platform to talk about something.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, we gave them that platform now. They can use it however they want.
Yeah. And so I appreciate when people use their platform for things like that, because even if it's things I don't agree with, because they recognize the power of the platform and a way to, they have an ability to communicate with people. So even if I don't agree with their opinion, I at least can respect the fact that they recognize that they have a platform and can speak to people.
Yeah.
So I really, and I have to say this, and I don't want to have to say it, but I do. The only people I know really who complain about celebrities giving their opinion celebrities are liberals or, on the left or vote Democratic or whatever. And so I can understand how it would be frustrating when celebrities are always, I get that to a degree. If they're always talking and they're against, what you think and whatever.
Yeah, but you feel annoyed by them. Yeah.
Yeah. But if Republicans, celebrities, and the few that there are, or if most celebrities were Republicans or whatever, or were on the right, and they were saying this, they'd have no complaint whatsoever. And that's not to say that there won't be liberals who wouldn't have complaints if the reverse was true. But I wish people would like understand that like you would have no problem with this regard if it was the other way around.
Exactly. You either need to stick up for what you believe in or don't stick up for it at all. Because honestly, to me, yes, it just doesn't matter. Like you believe what you know is true in your heart.
Yeah.
That's what you believe.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like at the end of the day, I don't care. I'm going to think what I think, and that's not to say my opinions can't change, but they're not going to change because, Meryl Streep said something. I'm not that easily influenced.
And I'm saying, I'm certainly like when people coming after Kate, I was like, so whose opinion, like who of voting age or of age that can make any political impact did the singer of Roar really change? I'm sorry, but like Katy Perry wearing braids didn't kill millions of people.
I know.
Like what I'm saying is just there's so many like things. I think that it's also counterproductive sometimes to be on Twitter and always try to point every little thing out. Because I was just realizing the other day, I was sitting on Twitter reading some of these things. And I was just like, man, we're complaining about a lot of things that aren't really actively doing like hurting anybody.
Yeah, and
I'm like, there are people getting murdered, and we're on here talking about hairstyles.
Yeah, I know. I have no problem with people talking about small issues. I think that there was a certain point in time when we wouldn't have talked about these smaller issues because we had bigger things. We weren't so worried about whether somebody was culturally appropriating because we were worried about ending slavery or stopping lynchings or things. But now we're at a place where people are not getting lynched as much. I have heard of lynching still, but not as much. And people are not getting there's not slavery, obviously, in this country. Well, there's sex slavery. So, you know what I mean? There's not the slavery in the way that we think of it in this country anymore. And so we can focus on smaller issues. And so I get that. But there are still big issues, like you were saying, people getting murdered. I mean, what is that cop with Philando Castile in Minnesota just got off.
Yeah, and I saw this police officer on Twitter defending. I don't even know. I just remember reading like this. It was like 25 different replies from people just going in.
Oh, about he was mad about it or he was happy about it?
He was defending the officer.
Oh yeah. See, yeah, and that's a whole other conversation I could get into.
Yeah,
about the blue line, or what I think they call it, the blue line. And that's.
And I think there's so many. There's so many issues that I think that are really, really difficult to fight necessarily. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's certain things that are just like you can't. There's no. It's not something you can flip a switch on. Like, there's some things that are just like I'm like, well, you can't fix that necessarily.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there are things like they'll be micromanaging people on Twitter or doing these little things, and I'm just like, but I don't even want to get into like the whole subcultures in America and how like Americans as a whole, like what is our culture? Like we have so many different people that live in this country that I don't know. Sometimes I just think I'm like, well, what lines are there? I don't care to feel like I need to go to another culture and like take their stuff, or I don't even know. I've never run into that in real life. I don't like. There's so many things where I'm just saying, what is the actual line?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and what do you want? No, I mean, I'm just really like, what do you want, and what is the actual line? Because all I see is people complaining. But then I'll go, well, if they didn't do that, what would be different? Like, even after somebody will say, well, okay, I apologize, I won't do it again. And then they say, well, that's not good enough. What is? No, like, what? No, I mean, like, what do you want? Because at the end of the day, what you're complaining about is something that won't really, like, these things aren't things that just change.
Yeah.
Like these are things that will change over generations, or something, or even as we become more mixed race in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like those things are going to get harder to, like, trying to create these like big boundaries between cultures, that's going to be impossible soon.
Yeah.
Just definitely. Like how there are these celebrities that have been coming out, like a lot of biracial celebrities. Have you seen Tinashe? I don't know how to say it. I think it's Tinashe.
Oh yeah,
she came out and said that. Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned that in the last episode, but the whole thing with her feeling like she's not part of the Black community or the white community necessarily. Yeah. And then the whole, like, I guess you could create a biracial community, but then what's their identity? Because people will say, well, you can't take from the Black community because you're not Black. Mm-hmm. You can't take from this white community because you're not white.
Well, that's
what is their identity?
That's what I'm saying. I wanted to say. Whoa, what were you about to say?
I mean, I just feel like there's like this weird like bastardization of an entire generation, and we're arguing over things that just aren't going to be solved. Okay, that's not going to happen, and that's unrealistic.
Yeah, and it's really
it's not happening. It's really not gonna. It's never gonna happen. I'm sorry. As much as you pound on your keyboard, it's not gonna happen.
And you know what I've noticed is that. And which really, that's kind of makes me nervous and has pissed me off, is that when you look at, like you were talking about people talking about you're not one of us, the blue line I was talking about with police officers, with fraternities, with people who support certain politicians without any thought process. Like there's never a like, oh, yeah, I didn't like what they just did there. All those people in the other, celebrities, people who follow celebrities, they can do no wrong. I've noticed that there is like this extreme level of loyalty to either like Trump or to police officers, to each other, or fraternities, or to the Democratic Party, or to certain celebrities, or to a racial group, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That there is never any actual criticism, and that is everybody is just, that I see no evil. Everybody else is dumb and bad, but my side is fine. There's absolutely no problem.
Exactly.
I've noticed that like this has gotten to the point, the amount of loyalty that people have to each other is just unbelievable to me. It's weird to me because I don't feel that sort of loyalty to things really. I mean, I understand.
There is. Yeah, isn't there? There's beauty in unity.
Yeah,
but at the same time, there's ignorance in it too, in just accepting everything because hey, we're alike, so let's be besties.
I mean, we've become so tribal. I mean, humans are always tribal, but we've become very tribal, and because people are really good to people within their own tribe, generally speaking, but outside of that tribe, it's like, it's unbelievable.
And like, I feel like sometimes the biggest source of conflict is difference. Like.
Yes,
it's just difference, and no matter what it is, I'm saying like there's no such thing as like, I mean no matter if you are different than somebody else, there's going to be something that you guys butt heads about. So when if there's like these huge cultural lines, there's never going to be any type of peace or like rest or. So what I'm saying is like, it's kind of a scary future. In regards to sometimes identity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do.
Like, I want to have this discussion off the air first, but yeah.
Well, this I think would be a perfect discussion to bring in because we haven't had a guest yet because we were supposed to have one like a few weeks ago, but we couldn't figure out how.
Difficulties.
Yeah, we always have technical difficulties. I swear, but
it takes us an hour just to get recorded.
Unbelievable. But I think we're going to figure this out because we need to figure that out. I want to have like one or two guests on talk about this, about like what's going on in the culture right now. Because I think that's really important to talk about. Because we're in a strange time. And, a lot of times people talk about polarization, they're just talking about politics, but it's everything. Because everything is, I mean, I guess it is politics, but because everything is politics, but I notice this with everything. It just is unbelievable. But yeah, I definitely, I want to.
And I wonder to a degree, like, how does this affect the average person who doesn't use social media so much? Like, I use social media so much, so I'm inundated with these issues and these arguments literally every day. So I feel like my perspective, on this big war going on, like culturally, and it might be a little bit different than somebody who's like, I don't even hear those things because I don't use Instagram and I don't use Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you wouldn't even hear these things most of the time.
But a lot of even those people, like the older people we're thinking about, a lot of those people, they are on Facebook, and you can find comments of them. Like, if you want to see like some of the worst kinds of people, go on MSN and go on any article and look at the comments. And some of the worst.
Exactly, I can never read comments.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad.
But when I do read comments, I know how to serve up some justice. Okay.
I remember one time they were talking about. I think they were talking about Brie Larson cast as Captain Marvel, and so you had a bunch of people who were fired up and they were mad. They're like, "Why are they making Captain Marvel a man?" And so I had to clarify to all these people that Captain Marvel is a Marvel character, and you're thinking of Captain Marvel from DC, who is now called Shazam.
God, sounds so stupid already.
Yeah, and it's like, for one, I didn't even realize that many people knew about that. But they were so angry, they didn't even bother. It's like,
and yes, wait, if you're a comic book fan, if you are enough of a comic book fan to know who Captain Marvel is by that name, Captain Marvel, the male version,
yeah.
How did you not know that Marvel had a version that was a woman?
I know, that's what I don't get. That told me that most of these people were like old, because Captain Marvel was really famous like in the 40s, in the 50s. But I mean, now nobody knows who Shazam is for the most part. So I was like, how do you know who that is but don't know about this? And even if you did know about it, you just read the article. All you have to do is read the article and it would say Marvel movie. Unless they thought Captain Marvel was from Marvel, which I get the name is confusing, but I mean, I went after some of these people telling them,
Yeah, sometimes I feel bad because I have a tendency to be brutal, but
yeah, I mean, I didn't call anybody an idiot or anything. Well, maybe
I do a little worse than that.
One person an idiot, actually, but for the most part,
yeah, I'm not afraid to go in. I'll go in. So yeah, well, because I have to make sure that you never say something that's stupid again.
Yeah,
like, and it's not. It won't even be about something. Yeah, and I'll only go in like that if I know for like 100% that I'm right, or that it's an issue that it really warrants me to like bark at you so much that you never say it again out of fear that I'll pop up in your inbox.
So that makes me. I have two questions for you now. Do you think PC culture is more good than bad, or more bad than good, or neither? For today's current society, obviously, and the future, I guess.
I kind of want to say neither, because I think that there's always going to be something to argue about. But as I said, that those arguments are endless. So I mean, like I'm saying, like I feel like there's arguments about certain things, and I'll just go, well, at the end of the day, like this argument isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Even if you win the proverbial argument with somebody on Twitter, what have you changed?
Yeah. And I mean, I guess the idea for them would be they've changed that person's mind, hopefully, or people who've seen the I don't know what the word is. What is it? The line of, what is it called on Twitter? Like a stream of text or stream of tweets. A
thread? Yeah,
the thread. Yeah.
Sometimes I just really go like, I don't always. I know I very rarely agree with either like side completely.
I mean, yeah.
That's why I think even when I just sit there and I'm just like, neither of y'all, like one of them, I'm like, you don't care enough at all. Like you have no compassion. And the other person, I'm like, you're overlooking basic like common sense because you're so passionate about what you're arguing over. So I just think that these arguments sometimes aren't as well thought out as people think when they put them on Twitter.
Well, they aren't, because a lot of these people have like an agenda. Like,
yeah,
did you hear about the Gal Gadot controversy? Because this woman, this journalist, she claims to be a journalist. I don't remember what her name is. I'm not going to give her credit, but she tweeted out that Gal Gadot only made $300,000 from Wonder Woman, and that Henry Cavill made $14 million. That was a total BS lie. And it also, like you were saying, it undermines the actual issues about the pay gap or whatever that we can get into some other time, because that actually is an actual thing you could have a discussion about. But that totally undermines that when you don't even do any research. That's why I say she's not really a journalist, because journalists actually research things and make sure.
You would never, as a real journalist, you would never put out something you weren't sure that you want. Like, you don't want to ruin your credibility.
Yeah, and this isn't even anything like that important. We're talking about a movie, how much someone got paid for a movie, and you couldn't even do research for that. It's not like we're talking about, something with Trump or whatever. This is like minor leagues, and she couldn't even figure that out. What she didn't realize is that that was part of his back end deal. That's what he got paid, and she also didn't realize that most superhero actors make somewhere between $200,000 and $500,000 in their first outing. That's not unnormal. Like, I think both Chris Evans and Hemsworth made about $300,000. Robert Downey Jr. made $500,000. Some other actor made $200,000. Henry Cavill was around that ballpark. So this is not unnormal. And let's also not forget that Gal Gadot is not a name either. So, so like when I heard, like, I don't know, there was, whenever I've heard about some movies where the actor or actress will come out and she'll say, like, I didn't get paid as much as this guy, I'd be like, maybe it's because he was the lead. Maybe it's because of that, or maybe it's because he's a bigger name. I think it undermines the whole argument when they start, when people start getting all bent out of shape. But that just shows you that journalist she clearly had an agenda, and she wanted to get fired up and wanted people to fire up, that she wasn't even willing to read anything to clear it up. That to find out that this was totally not true. Yeah, it's just sad.
Anyway, did I talk about the Wonder Woman thing with I don't even remember what her name was. She blocked me on Twitter. Can't even look her up. But she was arguing that Wonder Woman shouldn't have been a white woman.
Oh, I don't think we talked about this on the actual podcast, but I do remember you mentioning it, I think.
Yeah, and she said that she wouldn't support the movie because she was a white woman.
Yeah, I mean, that's absurd.
I mean, okay. I mean, okay.
What?
That's exactly what I read her whole thread, like, going off, and I was like, well, okay. Well, instead of complaining about Wonder Woman's movie, can you like complain that there's no Vixen movie or something?
That's what I was just thinking. Why don't you campaign for a Vixen movie? Or why don't you campaign for some original black characters, for comic book characters to create and to make movies about? Instead of complaining about who has always been that way, who's always been white, and then freaking out about it.
I'm like, forget Wonder Woman. If you really are caring about black characters, make the studio know that black characters are amazing. Black Panther, go see it 15 times.
Yes,
make it outgross Iron. Make it outdo Iron Man by double Iron Man's gross, and I guarantee you we'll see black superheroes like galore. What I'm saying is, I don't feel the need to tear down. Like, if I see a lack of representation, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to tear them down. It's a good movie's a good movie, but like, it wouldn't hurt y'all to make an Asian superhero, a black superhero,
no, of course not,
a Hispanic, Latino, like.
But why there haven't been Latino and Asian is because people are like, why are we seeing these movies? Because there aren't really that many characters. Like, that's the thing. Like, when you look at the characters, most of the characters are white. Most of the characters are male. And then when you go into, if you're talking about minorities, most of the minority wise are black. So of course there aren't that many Asian characters or Native American characters. And most of those Asian and Native American characters are probably X-Men. So, like, it's really, it's just
X-Men have always been the woke comic book characters.
So what I would like people to do is to talk to Image or Marvel or DC, Marvel and DC being the big ones, but also Image and Dark Horse or whatever, and start asking them to make some more of these characters.
And please create good ones.
Yeah, and also, why don't you go and read some of these characters if you want to see? The reason that they don't make movies out of these characters is because a lot of these, some of these characters, either they don't exist or some of them don't even do well in sales. So this is what I'm talking about. People just like to talk stuff, but they haven't actually done any of the stuff and haven't actually done anything to help it. I mean, you and I we've read comic books. We're pretty well versed in the comic book world. We know about these characters. We knew about Black Panther and Vixen long before they were on TV or in movies. So, or years before they would be in TV or movies.
Dear God. So you just put like this amazing vision into my head of Black Panther and Storm.
Yeah, I mean that can't happen now, obviously.
I know, but imagine if, oh god, that'd be such a huge franchise. Oh god, all the merchandise. Imagine, black people would be in theaters for months seeing that movie. My parents would see that movie 13 times.
Yeah.
Oh god.
I
haven't seen that movie 13 times, huh?
Have you seen the comic picture of them, like when he's sitting on the throne and she's standing there next to him? Yeah, I guess they could call that "Watch the Throne" or something.
Watch the Throne.
But so yeah, I don't know, but
God, Storm and Black Panther could have been the most iconic black superhero couple of all time in a movie. They really would have been like, I guarantee you, it would have been a huge cultural event.
Yeah,
like they would have been humongous characters.
But a lot of these characters, I mean, I think both the Green Lanterns, like in the DC Rebirth, are like or at least one of them's of Arab descent.
I don't know. Yeah, I forget his name.
Yeah, I think the woman might be too. And the new Ms. Marvel is not Carol Danvers because Carol Danvers is Captain Marvel. But the other
Kamala Khan, something like that.
Yeah,
or Kamala.
And she's of Arab descent, and I think she is Muslim too. So there is diversity in that, and I think her comic series did well.
It did, yeah. I remember, yeah. People were, and it's good. It didn't do well. It's good.
Yeah. So why don't people push for that? Why don't they push for Vixen? Why don't they? I mean, I don't know. And I get it. There's not that many, but why don't you go out and start encouraging these companies to make their own? I'm not saying you have to go out and make your own comic character, but if you're creative enough, why not? But I don't know. I've said as when I do filmmaking, I would like to make a point of making sure that my movies reflect the world. So if I can make my lead character a female or of Arab or Black or Asian descent or whatever. And actually, I've said in the past that I'd like to put more Asian and Native Americans in movies because of all the groups, they're probably the least represented. Forget Black and Hispanic and even Arab to a degree. I mean, where are all the Native American and Asian, characters and actors? I just find it strange that you really don't see much of that. So I think people who find this so important to them, they need to talk to studios, they need to talk to comic book companies and say, we want to see more of this. And we're willing to go and purchase these comics and purchase these tickets and watch these shows as long as they're good. Don't give us crap. Right. So, because that's not helping anybody is, giving crap. Seeing a Madea movie, sure, is probably going to put some more Black comedies into the theater, but Madea is not helping much. What helps would be like a Creed or a Black Panther, good movies.
One thing I would love to see is just normalization of minorities in movies. Like, what I'm saying is, like, they don't even have to be like say they make a movie about an Indian man. It doesn't have to take place in India, and it doesn't have to be about him being a dignitary in India. Or a movie about Black people doesn't have to be about slavery.
Yeah, that's what I
make any movie, and they happen to be Black people.
I know that was so great about last year's Oscars. Like like Fences, regardless of what you think about the movie, that movie really had nothing to do with race.
Yeah,
I mean, it didn't have to do with race, but it was. I mean, it's important that they were Black, but the actual when you watch the movie, they don't really talk about them being Black. They're not, they don't talk about how it's affecting their lives that much. And it's a movie that takes place like in the 50s, which you would have expected them to talk about it. But really, it's just a movie about a family and a father who's struggling to deal with his place in society in terms of, he could have been this great baseball player or whatever, and now he's having to deal with kind of being this jerk to his family. And how to he has a lot of pent up anger and regret, and he's pushing out at his son. And so he's trying to figure out his place in the world. And you could have had that with any character. That's not a uniquely white or Black story. And then when you saw Moonlight, that had nothing. That was that had less to do with him being black and more to do with him being gay. And again, that could have been any race. And then what was the other one? Hidden Figures. Even that was a historical piece, and it definitely had to do with them being black. But what did it not have to do with? Slavery or Martin Luther King? Because it seems to be like the two. Let's see. Okay, our black quota is getting low. Let's do a slavery movie, or let's do Martin Luther King.
Yep.
But that's why I loved about Creed. A couple year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm. It's a good movie, yeah. I just think that they need. Yeah, my point has always been just to represent. Yeah, I think that to a degree, that's what most people's point is, just to represent more races and more minorities and more groups in these movies. You know, it doesn't have to be like, say a character's gay. Does the movie have to be about him being gay or him being bullied because he's gay?
No.
Like, I don't have to see a compelling story about that. Like, just be like, yo, this dude is an awesome superhero. Yeah. He's gay too. Okay, like that's the point of me saying, like, if as long as it's a big deal, like it's forced to be a big deal even in the media, like when they're raising awareness, but they're also making it seem like a bigger deal. Yeah. Like it's a big deal that these people deal with the discrimination. But what I'm saying is, make it, if you want something to be normal, make it normal.
Yeah, because a movie, unless you're doing a historical piece, you are under no obligation to do that. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, because in some cases it's warranted. If you're doing a movie about the drug war, and not historical, but just takes place, it could take place now, and it just has to do with like inner cities. You obviously are going to want to talk about the characters being black or Hispanic. It's relevant. But if you're doing a movie, say like Cyborg, they're doing a cyborg superhero movie, you don't need to make a big deal about him being black. He's just a character. Him being black is not imperative to his important to his character necessarily. So I don't know. I totally agree with you, and I want to see that with other groups too, because we're starting to see it more with black movies and TV shows. But I want to see it also that translate to and I'm not saying that half the movies need to be about Asian characters. Obviously, Asians do not make up a large percentage of the population of the U.S., but they do make a large percentage of the world, and they do make a large percentage of the movie-going audience. So it would be at your most cynical, you would say, do it at least for the box office, for Chinese audiences and Japanese and Korean audiences who go out to see these movies. At the very least, if you don't actually care about, representation, do it for money. And again, I'm not saying that. Obviously, these people are not Asians or even Arabs. Really, any minority group is the majority in this country. So, obviously, to a degree, I understand why there's more white characters and actors and whatever working in Hollywood. It makes sense. But there are other people in this country, and there are other people in this world, and they're only growing, especially in this country. By 2050, I think this country is going to be largely Hispanic and mixed race. So it makes more sense that as we progress into that, that we should have more representation of these people. And I'd like to see that normalized more. And I really don't want to have to wait until 2050 to see, more normalization of Hispanic or mixed race or black or Asian or Arab actors. I don't know. Or women too, women of any color. So I'd like to see that normalized starting yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Is there anything you wanted to add to this discussion?
No, I've said my piece for today.
Yeah, I think the PC thing, again, we want to have people come in to discuss this, because there's other things that I would like to discuss, but I want to get my thoughts together more with that. And then I also want to have this discussion with other people too. I think we need to expand this. And then, there was one more question actually I did want to ask you though, Josh. and it was we were talking about PC culture, is it good or bad? What do you think, or how do you think social media has? Do you think it's changed people, made them more?
I think
tribal.
Yes, because people will always feel more comfortable when they find people globally who are part of their own community.
Yeah.
And there's always power in retweets and things like that. So when you feel empowered to speak on an issue and you get validated by getting 120,000 likes or retweets, yes, that causes you to be more tribal because you think, oh, my friends have my back. All these people who are just like me have my back on Twitter. And so, yeah, obviously any tribe, that's why there's parts of Twitter, like movie Twitter, people who love movies and stuff, they're all together.
Black Twitter,
Stan Twitter.
Conservative Twitter, yeah.
Those things, you see them all, they all follow each other, they all retweet each other's thing, they all have the same idols. It definitely and it's not always a bad thing, but yeah, it can be a bad thing.
It's not always
to be stuck in like feeling like you have to be loyal to this group, and then eventually you're just like hostile towards other groups who try to come in and have an opinion on what you like.
Yeah.
Or what you are. Oh, yeah.
And I don't want people, because I think it's important to have groups, but I also want people to not think as a monolith and think that if I deviate even slightly, that I'm their enemy now. If I have one different opinion than this group that I'm a part of or whatever, that I feel that I should be a part of, that if I deviate in this one aspect, if I agree with them on 95 or 85% of things, but there's that 5 or 15% that I disagree with them, that I'm their enemy. Because that's what I see is either you're with us or you're against us. And it's on all sides of everything. Yeah. It's with Marvel, it's with DC, it's with Republicans, it's with Democrats, it's with the alt-right and the conservative movement, it's with the progressive movement. Really, you look anywhere, it's everywhere. And it's disgusting. I mean, I hate it. That if your opinion is slightly different, that you are made out to be this sort of enemy. I hate that. One of those things, I just hate that. So I don't know if that's going to change anytime soon. I really hope it does, but that's a discussion I think we need to save that for the future too. And I want to get more into politics too. But yeah, so I think that's about it for what we had today. Next week, we're going to make sure to get into actual political issues right now, as opposed to just PC culture, but like, healthcare and the effect of neoliberalism on the world. Also would like to get back to science. I don't think we've discussed science in a while. And, we don't have to discuss every topic all the time. Because, I like the openness of this. I just wanted, as we know, when Film Smart, all we talked about was film. In fact, we didn't even talk about TV and film in the same thing. We would say TV for a different thing. But now I feel we can talk about, everything. And I just want to say, Josh, you don't watch Game of Thrones anymore, right?
Nope.
Yeah, because I actually caught up with it a couple of days ago. Where did you drop off?
How many seasons is it?
It's about to start 7th.
Okay, because I think I dropped off at like the 4th.
Okay, yeah. So I caught up. I wanted to watch the 7th season live, and I actually quite enjoyed it. I know you said you stopped enjoying it at a certain point. I guess that point that you stopped watching it. But I actually really liked season 4, and then season 5 was a little reserved. I thought season 5 was the season that you stopped on.
It might have been, because I watched a lot.
Because people say season 5 is. Yeah, people say season 5 is the worst season, but it probably is one of the weaker seasons. But actually, when you get closer to the end of it, I think it has one of the best scenes with the shame scene when they make Lena Headey's character walk out through the the city. I thought that was like a really powerful scene, and then she really gets her revenge at the end of the next season. But I thought that was the show. I was worried about what it was going to become once you said it got kind of boring, but I actually kind of had the reverse opinion. I thought it was kind of boring at first. Like the first season and a half, I was like kind of Season 2 picked it up for me though. And then I got more into it, but yeah, I'm excited for that. and Veep ends. Its last season finale is on Sunday, but and then who knows?
When is that show gonna end already?
Huh?
When is that show gonna end?
Oh, you mean like series finale?
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's not president anymore. I don't know. This season, was interesting. I like the season. This season was a more introspective season, I noticed, and they've really delved into what makes Selena such a terrible person, because now that she's lost the presidency, she's at her worst.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like politically, she's at her worst, but she's also like the meanest she's ever been, and just just terrible. And so, I mean, she's really just instantly terrible at any moment. And so they're really delving into like some of her background. And I thought it would be cool for the next season that they would take a break from what's going on with her currently. And actually, if you read the synopsis of the show, it always talks about her being a senator. And so I think what they should do is just go back to her last couple of years in the Senate before she became vice president in the first season, because we actually never get to see her prior to being vice president. And I feel like everybody, the first season came out like 5 years ago. And so if you're going back 6 or 7 years, you don't really have to de-age anybody that much. So it's not like you're going back 20 years or 15 years. And she looks, Julia Louis-Dreyfus does not look like she's 56. So, so everybody, I think that would be an interesting thing, is just go back like 7 years and see what she was like in 2010 or something. As a state, or not as a state, I think she was an actual regular senator. And I think that would be pretty interesting. And then maybe season 8, she finds her way back to power, and who knows. But yeah, so the show is it's bringing something new every season, I think. I think that's about it. Is there anything you wanted to add, Josh, or are we good to go?
I've said my piece.
All right. You know what to do. Like, subscribe. We're going to try to get some guests on. Mark my words, we'll have guests on in one of our next 2 podcasts, either the 5th or 6th one. Hopefully the 5th.
Watch the technical difficulties catch up.
Well, because I had a friend from school who said he'd be interested. He went to the Firefly, what do you call it? The Firefly music festival, and he shot some stuff, and he thought it'd be interesting to talk about it for our music segment, possibly. I said that'd be kind of cool. So maybe we'll do that. I just hope we're not too far removed from it. But regardless, I think it would be cool to talk about. So you need to do like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and we're going to try to get this podcast onto iTunes, and because right now we're on YouTube, and like our second episode's on SoundCloud, but I need to SoundCloud, you have to make a subscription, so you have to pay a certain amount every month to stay on. So I might have to do that, but I'm going to see about getting on iTunes, because I would like that. But yeah, that's it. As always, stay film smart.